Hi, everyone. So this is the video where I'm going to be talking about the outline assignment. And in the process of talking about that, I'm going to talk about the nature of organization and how paragraphs fit in with organization. So the outline assignment, an outline is basically kind of like a sketch that you have for your essay assignment. So imagine if you were building a house. People who build houses don't just go out and just get a bunch of bricks and start building houses. First, they draw out what they want it to look like. And the reason that they do that is because they can draw that out and they can go, that's not quite what I want. Let me erase that. Let me get a new sheet of paper. And it's relatively easy to be able to do that. Before you actually invest all that money, time, and energy in actually getting the bricks, let's do something easy like work this out on paper and kind of plan what we want to do. And the outline assignment is similar in that regard. So with the outline assignment, you are planning what you want to do for your essay, right? You are sketching out what you want to do, what you want to talk about, where you want to put all the elements, because that might be easier for you to be able to get a handle on what it is that you want to accomplish. It's easier to do it there in the outline than when you're actually writing, right? And so then you can always refer back to your outline. What am I supposed to be doing here? Oh, my outline gave an indication of that. The outline also helps me understand whether or not you are moving in the right direction. So let's think about what I want for this outline assignment, and then we'll see how that fits in with the general nature of organization. So the outline assignment for project number one. For the outline, you need to do the following. So the first thing you'll do, and by the way, I'm going to explain all of this, and then in just a little bit, the next page of this document that you have on Blackboard has a sample outline. So you'll see exactly what it's supposed to look like. So the first thing you're going to do is you'll state the thesis of your writing project. In the previous video, we talked about a thesis. If you didn't watch that video, make sure to go back and watch it because it's really important you understand what a thesis is. So I say your thesis is the big idea that you're trying to prove. We talked about that in the previous thesis video. So for this assignment, you are trying to prove that your experiences with different Englishes have helped and or hindered your life, right? That they've somehow been helpful or they've somehow been a problem in your life. This thesis should only be 1 or 2 sentences long. I probably should have put that in bold because I don't want a thesis. Sometimes students will, this is my thesis and they'll have an entire paragraph. But that's not as useful for you because you aren't as clear about what exactly you're writing about. So your thesis should really only be 1 or 2 sentences long. So the first thing you'll do, just state the thesis of your project. That's it. The second thing you're going to do is state the topic sentence for your first body paragraph. So let's talk about what a topic sentence is. A topic sentence is a complete sentence. That's important. It's a complete sentence. I probably should have put that in bold as well. A complete sentence that expresses the main idea of a body paragraph. And so let's just stop right there and think about what that means. A paragraph, well, let's think about what a paragraph is. Sorry, I need coffee. A paragraph is going to be a way that we have of dividing up information. Okay? And so we can say, look, all of this kind of information goes in one paragraph. We go to another paragraph, we get different kinds of information. Okay? That's something that you understand, but it's something that we oftentimes forget when we're actually writing. And so that's one of the things I want you to do in this outline assignment is kind of plan that, to be able to say, hey, this is the kind of information I plan to put here. When I'm done with that information, I'm going to move to another paragraph. I'm going to have different information. And as we say here, the topic sentence tells us what kind of information goes into that paragraph. A topic sentence is kind of like a label that we put on a drawer, right? So if a paragraph is like a drawer, because different drawers have different things in them. Here's where I put my school supplies. Here's where I put tools, right? Here's where I put keys, whatever it is that you put in your drawers, right? And if you put a label on those drawers, you understand, oh, here's what I can find in that, right? You understand when you're trying to put something away, you can go, where does it go? The label tells me what kind of things go in here. And so you want a topic sentence to your paragraph so that you know what goes in there, but also so the reader can say, oh, this is what I'm doing in this paragraph, right? And so I want you to tell me what your topic sentence is. For that body paragraph, just that one topic sentence. I say, remember that each paragraph has to specifically support your thesis, right? Everything is about your thesis, so somehow it has to support your thesis. So I should be able to see that connection when reading your topic sentence. I should be able to understand, oh, I understand how this topic sentence relates back to the thesis. Also, each body paragraph must have a particular idea that holds it together and differentiates it from other paragraphs. That's what we talked about, having those drawers, right? So I should be able to see that very clearly, and you should be able to see that. So then you can understand, what am I doing in this first paragraph? Oh, I'm writing this. Because this is one of the ways we get overwhelmed with writing an essay assignment. You think you have to write an entire essay. But really, if you understand, if you have an outline, you can say, I got to write this paragraph that's about this. And then when I'm done with this, I got to write this next paragraph that's about that, right? And so if we understand how to divide those things up like that, it makes the task a lot more manageable. It makes it a lot easier to write. And I say down here, important, do not write the entire paragraph, just the topic sentence. That's all I want. Topic sentence, right? So you're going to have your thesis, which is 1 to 2 sentences. Then you have your topic sentence, which is 1 sentence, okay? Number 3, very briefly, underlined so you know it's important, describe the information you will include in the body paragraph, and if applicable, list the specific quotes that you will use to support that topic sentence. So I say here, provide a 1-sentence, bold so you know it's important, I only want 1 sentence, a 1-sentence description of what you'll discuss in the paragraph. Really important, do not write more than 1 sentence, right? Just tell me in 1 sentence what you plan to be talking about. So again, that should be fairly easy, right? You have, for the paragraph, you're going to have a topic sentence, that's 1 sentence. You're going to have 1 sentence describing what it's about, so that's 2, right? And then I just need to do it in general what you're going to be discussing, right? And so that's it, just writing a couple of sentences about the paragraph. Then you need to use at least 2 quotes in the essay, so you might not have a quote in every paragraph. However, if a paragraph will have a quote, list it, okay? And so you just copy that quote. Make sure that the quotes are directly related to the topic sentence. Important, do not say anything about the quotes, just list them. So for that paragraph, you're just going to have your topic sentence, which is 1 sentence, a 1-sentence description, and maybe copy a quote. That's it. So for each paragraph, you're not going to be writing any more than 2 sentences. If you're writing more than 2 sentences, you're doing it incorrectly, right? So this should not be a lot of work. And then number 4, repeat steps 2 and 3 for however many body paragraphs you will have. There's no rule saying that you must have 3 body paragraphs, so you can have as many that make sense. You should probably have between 3 and 5, just because that's, for the length of this essay. Okay, so let's look at what this actually looks like. Here's a sample outline. I've done it in MLA formatting. My name, the professor's name, who is me, the name of the course and the date. Those are things that you need in your outline. And then I have thesis. I've listed my thesis here. My thesis is, although there were academic advantages to growing up speaking a standard version of English, there were large social costs, namely being alienated from many of my black peers. However, what ties both advantages and disadvantages together is the fact that in both situations, people were making incorrect assumptions about me based upon the way I spoke. Right. And so, again, I kind of talked about this subject before in other materials that we have, but you can see how this is a thesis that leads us toward some big ideas, right? I'm not just saying that I grew up speaking a particular form of English. I'm telling you what that means, right? That these two things are tied together by having people make incorrect assumptions about me because of the way that I spoke. Okay, and so that's a thesis that we can work with. I'm going to need to prove those kinds of incorrect assumptions that people might have had about me. So I list body paragraph number 1, topic sentence. I grew up speaking a standard version of English that in my community was more likely to be associated with white people than black people, right? And the content in this paragraph, I'll provide background of my family and the kindergarten I attended, right? And that's it. Just 2 sentences. That's all I needed. Right? Again, if you're writing a number of sentences, if you're writing more than 2 sentences, you're doing this incorrectly. And I'm probably going to send it back to you and say, wait, cut some sentences out of this and just give me 2 sentences for each paragraph. Paragraph number 2, when I switched to a predominantly black elementary school, many of the kids made fun of the way I spoke. And I say in this paragraph, I'll elaborate on my experiences at that school. And so I'm going back, I need to give you some of this background so you'll understand what's going on with this, with my thesis. Number 3, when I switched to a predominantly white school, my version of English became an asset because teachers began to think I was academically gifted. Okay, and then I'm going to elaborate on how teachers responded to my language. And so, again, that goes back to the thesis there. Body paragraph number 4, even though there were academic positives and social negatives associated with how I was treated because of the English I spoke, in both cases, my English put me into a box where I was judged by what people expected me to sound like. Okay, that's where I'm getting kind of more to the meat of kind of bringing this all together. I've got the content. I explain in detail how, in both instances, my English made people make incorrect assumptions about what kind of person I would be, and then here are the quotes that I'm going to use. Right, and that's it. That's the outline. Right. I've got a thesis. I tell you what my topic sentence is. I tell you what the content is going to be, what I'm going to tell you about that topic sentence, and then, if applicable, for a paragraph, because I need two quotes somewhere, and I decided to put all of my quotes in the last paragraph. You can put them anywhere you want. Okay. But I decided to put mine in the last one, and so that's the only place where I have quotes. And that's it. That's all I want for your outline. Again, if your outline has more information than that, if it has more sentences than this, then it's a problem, because what it means is you aren't as clearly focused on what it is that you want to be writing about. And I want to make sure that you're very focused on what you want to be writing about. Realize that when I do this, I'm going to be very clear about what I'm doing in each paragraph. I'm going to say, wait, what am I going to be doing in body paragraph number 1, right? And notice that I've kind of divided this up in these paragraphs by time. Let me tell you, excuse me, let me tell you about what happened at this time in my life, right? And then I move on to a different time. Excuse me again. Um, sorry. So we can divide this up when you're telling a story. You can divide it up by this happened at this time, and this happened at this time, and this happened this time, and you're providing information that's going to be backing up that thesis all the time. All right. So again, it's relatively simple, relatively straightforward. I don't want you to do too much work with it. I want to see what that plan is, and I want to be able to look at that plan and say, yes, that makes some sense. Yes, you have a strong thesis. Yes, you have divided that up into body paragraphs that make some sense. Yes, you have a couple of quotes that you want to use, right? And if there are any issues with that, that's where you might get a 1. And again, the 1 does not at all mean that you failed. It means, wait a minute, you got a problem in here, the way in which you've organized this, right? Your thesis isn't as good as it's supposed to be. Let's have a conversation about the thesis, right? You haven't necessarily divided this up into paragraphs in a way that makes some sense. Let's have a conversation about that. The quotes that you use don't seem to directly relate to what you want to be talking about. Let's have a conversation about that. So if you get a 1, it just means that there's something that I need to explain to you. And then after I explain it to you, then I'll go ahead and give you full credit for that. Okay, so hopefully this should be fairly straightforward, this outline. As always with anything, if you have any kind of questions, just send me an email and we can set up a time to talk on the phone, or again, you can call me during my office hours and we can talk on the phone so that I can explain this to you. And again, if you do get a 1, then definitely email me and we'll set up a time to talk.